Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The legal tampering period kicked off Monday with a flurry of activity in the NFL. We get you caught up on all of it. The Raiders spent like they've never spent money before. Like, maybe someone that just won big in Vegas. A couple of middling quarterbacks found new homes, and one of the game's greatest wideouts of the last generation decided to leave his longtime home for the 49ers.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
They call it the legal tampering period. It's really the unofficial start of free agency. It's semantics in the NFL. It's silly and it's nonsense. And the Raiders were the big story of day one. They added a plethora of names Monday, most notably Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum becoming one of the most expensive offensive linemen of all time, blowing the center market out of the water. Locked On Raiders host Q Myers reacted to Las Vegas's haul and discussed whether or not the Raiders offensive line has finally been fixed.
I was very surprised at the money amount. I had kind of maxed it out at like 25. I think that was the number a lot of people were maxing it out at. But seeing him get 27, I'm not surprised he took the deal, and I'm not surprised the Ravens did not match it, as I do not think that they could, even if they wanted to, because look, as we've said, there's a cap for everybody, and Linderbaum is a really good player, one of the best centers in the league. But, at some point, you can't afford to pay a guy that amount of money. And now you do have to reinvest that money back into your team. But it's tough because Linderbaum was your best offensive lineman. He was a leader in that group. And, some of the better options center-wise on the market have already dried up. There are a couple of guys that have gotten released today and over the last couple of days that maybe could be options for you. But, yeah, I was still, despite the fact that I thought that he was probably leaving after all the stuff that we had heard, I thought, all right, I'm going to hold on to that little bit of hope we have left. And it's time to review our grades, our exercise we did from the other day. And I was the one that had Tyler Linderbaum going, and the two of you had Tyler Linderbaum staying. So put one on the board. I'm not proud of it. I don't want to. I wish it was you two getting the points. But if I'm leaving here, I'm leaving here with something. So put one on the board for me. And I guess, unfortunately, that was one that I got correct. But it's tough to see him go. And, as apparently the rumors and the reports is that the Ravens offered around 4 years, $88 million, which was $22 million per season, still a record-setting deal. But obviously nothing close to what the Raiders were able to give Linderbaum.
We're going to go ahead and give you the dub, and we'll take the L. I think it's not surprising to me because as much as the off-season speculation, which is why I don't like the off-season speculation because of this, when you have two teams that have cap room and money and they start to get in a back and forth negotiation, it's like, all right, well, you're going to do something that is going to reset the market. And yeah, the figure of, 18 million. Well, it might be 21 million. Oh my goodness, 25 million. Somebody's going to offer him 25 million. No, it can't happen. And then you look at it, 27 million. For Tyler, I think you have to accept that money. You have to accept the deal. You're now the highest paid interior offensive lineman in NFL history. It resets the market. It establishes who you are, and it establishes for the next guys that are the up-and-comers. When you look at the quarterback market, Daniel Jones had $45 million, and I was like, for me, Kadri Ismail, losing my mind, like, oh, wow, Lamar's not going to get that? Like, oh, man, he should, absolutely. And then, of course, you saw the market kept resetting itself until Jalen Hurts came along, and Jalen Hurts set a market bar that was extremely high. And then Lamar's like, all right, give me a little bit more than that. You got yourself a deal. It takes two to tango. And if you got the money, you're going to be able to go ahead and tango. And I think that's what we saw with, obviously, free agency when it came to Lamar Jackson, but now Tyler Linderbaum is just that from a free agent aspect of things. Tyler was like, yeah, okay, great. You give me this. Ravens, y'all can't do it. Oh, well, okay, loved you. Bring my box of purple gear and I will sift through it, or I'll have one of my family members sift through it, tell me what you like, what you don't like, what we're going to give away. We'll hang up a jersey somehow, some way when I retire, but I know this, I'm about to have some good generational wealth, no state income tax, I'm living large, peace, I'm out. That's how the nature of the business is, and happy for Tyler Linderbaum. I'm sad for the flock. I wish we would have had an opportunity to see him stay. I wish we would have had an opportunity for he and Lamar to grow and potentially hoist up a Lombardi, but oh well, the king is dead. Long live the king. At least he didn't go to New York.
Oh, yeah. Plenty of others did go to New York. We'll get into that a little later in the show for sure. But Tyler Linderbaum is the name that everybody's talking about. And I was on social media and I said, no way he gets $25 million. He got $27 million. Kyle Vanoy, he and I got into it before the signing happened. He agreed that it was going to be $25 million. I said, no way. He gets 27. Kyle Vanoy definitely had his way. Go on social media and listen to Kyle Vanoy go off about his boy getting $27 million. Definitely deserves. So
stay up to date all year on the Las Vegas Raiders by subscribing to Locked On Raiders on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, Malik Willis has found a new home in Miami. Before we get to that, we've got more reactions around the league to some of the biggest free agent signings. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. The Chiefs are bringing in Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker while also bringing back tight end Travis Kelce. Maybe you've heard of him.
Chiefs made their big splash in free agency and are signing Kenneth Walker III, the Super Bowl MVP, to this roster on an average somewhere north of 13, I think, ish, at least according to initial reports, in making their big move early ahead of the official free agency period, but very, very early, very out of character for this team, both signing a running back and doing it so early. Big money contract. They certainly have seen a shift in what they think, and we're going to break it all down today on Locked On Chiefs with me and Chris Clark, what it means for the rest of it, how they got here, and is there anything else left to do in free agency? Kenneth Walker changes the math for the offense in 2026, and the Chiefs seem to be all in on getting somebody that can hit some explosives. We'll see you today on Locked On Chiefs.
The Commanders spent a pretty penny on Chargers linebacker Odafe Owe.
He started the day taking care of some internal business, dipped a foot into the free agent pool, but now roughly about 4.5 hours into the whole party, Adam Peters, general manager of the Washington Commanders, has made a splash. Odafe Owe, edge rusher from the Los Angeles Chargers. Before that, from the Baltimore Ravens, going from the East Coast to the West Coast, now back to the East Coast, played collegiately at Penn State from New Jersey, so he's back in the area that he's probably most comfortable with. And for the Washington Commanders, they're going to be really comfortable with the pass rushing boost that he is going to bring to Durante Jones's defense. The deal reportedly 4 years, $100 million, $68 million of that guaranteed. For more on this move, everything going on with the Washington Commanders, and even more to come as free agency continues, make sure you're locked into WSA 9 and Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
New Orleans added Jags running back Travis Etienne, which could push longtime Saint Alvin Kamara out of the picture.
Did the New Orleans Saints just win free agency? The Saints are never active within the first hours of the NFL's negotiating period, but this time around, they've completely revamped their offense, agreeing to terms with two major signings: guard out of the Buffalo Bills, David Edwards, as well as Jacksonville Jaguars running back Travis Etienne. The two of them are set to completely revamp what the New Orleans Saints look like on offense, especially in the run game. Travis Etienne averaged 4.3 yards per carry last year. The Saints as an entire team averaged just 3.7 yards per carry. And the Saints, of course, have a massive hole right now at left guard, which will be filled once these contracts become official on Wednesday when the new league year begins. David Edwards, Eric McCoy, and Cesar Ruiz now set to anchor the interior of that offensive line, with Travis Etienne getting some carries along with Alvin Kamara and that running back group.
And the Falcons decided, you know what? One injury-prone left-handed quarterback isn't enough. So they signed Tua Tagovailoa, who just got cut by the Miami Dolphins with an enormous dead cap hit. More on that in a second.
To me, it all kind of just screams that the Falcons are just kind of getting a left-handed version of Kirk Cousins. Now, he's younger, he's cheaper, but it's basically all the pros and cons that we've been discussing ad nauseum with Kirk Cousins over the last 2 years. Right now, if you are of the opinion that Kirk's on-field play was more than fine, and your only beef with Kirk Cousins was the quote-unquote money that he stole from the Atlanta Falcons, then you probably think the Tua signing is brilliant, right? As I said, you go from the most expensive quarterback contract or free agent contract in NFL history from an outside free agent to the cheapest you can possibly pay, and so it's a win when it comes to that.
The Dolphins quarterback dead zone lasted a quick 2 hours as Packers backup quarterback Malik Willis signed a 3-year, $67.5 million deal with Miami. Locked on Dolphins host Kyle Krabs explores the upside of Willis as QB1 and what Miami's ceiling can be with him under center.
I want to talk about the terms. I want to talk about the offer that I made in the offseason blueprint last year that had some parallels in the way of money. I didn't think that deal was going to get it done. I think that's the first thing that stands out to me is this literally became the salary cap adjusted version of what Justin Fields got last year from the New York Jets. And we heard all the hubbub up through the NFL Combine about how hot the market was for Malik Willis. And then the Combine came and went, and everybody at the Combine kind of shrugged their shoulders. And then the reporting kind of, it fizzled back down to like 25. Now, it's a 3-year, $67.5 million contract with $45 million in guarantees. I would assume, and I don't assume that that's 45 guaranteed at signing, right? I think that has a chance to maybe be some tolling guarantees that kind of go year over year. But I see the parallels to the Fields contract, and that was always the cost-effective move. Right? It's not small money. It's small money for a quarterback contract when Daniel Jones is asking the Colts for $50 million a season. And Daniel Jones played half a year good football, kind of struggled and played hurt for a bit, and then is on the transition tag for 37. So Malik, I am assuming there will probably be void years on the back end of this contract because they'll probably have an option bonus for money. And it's like the money that was in the Tua contract, but a fraction of the dollar amount, and you can wean it out where, like, even if Malik Willis is not good after the first year, and we need to see the full terms on the contract to know all this for certain, but keeping him around at $20 million, if you draft a quarterback in 2027, that was the short that I just did for the channel, was like, where's the downside here? They're spending money. Do we want to talk about the cash spend? The situation of the Dolphins' payroll this year, because they've offloaded Tyreek Hill, who was owed 36, and Bradley Chubb, who's owed 20.23. James Daniels and Nick Westbrook-Ikine, those guys were owed $10 million. They're trading Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's another 15.6 off the books. They moved on from Jason Sanders and Alec Ingold. Those guys were over $8 million in cash. They're getting rid of $90.6 million in cash payroll. They're 27th in the NFL in cash spending before the Minkah Fitzpatrick transaction. And that's another 15 off the books. They're going to be in the bottom 4-3 in the NFL as far as cash spending this year. And half of the cap is going to be committed to dead cap, right? We are going to get on the other side of this. And this is why we did the whole offseason blueprint last year. And we're talking about the blueprint and the contract offer in just a sec. They are not converting any of their cash into debt moving forward, right? And maybe they'll do it with Jordan Brooks, and maybe they'll do it with Aaron Brewer, and maybe if they extend Devon Achane because they have to reconcile all the dead cap this year. but their cash spend is going to be dramatically less than what the cap is. And that includes the Malik Willis contract. So all things considered, I don't see the downside because they've told us now, if they just sign Malik Willis and they throw their hands up and say, oh, we're good at quarterback for 4 years, we're not going to do anything, I'll be disappointed. I don't expect that to be the case, right? I would suspect that when it's all said and done, there will be a quarterback drafted this year to go with Malik Willis. And depending on how next year goes, they'll be in position to draft a quarterback early because you're going to have 2 years left with 1 year of guarantees on Malik Willis's contract. Right? And that's why, for me, it was always the messaging about the philosophy, as long as you back that up. And Sully used in his sit-down interview with Cam Wolfe, he talked about the Seahawks with the Matt Flynn contract as an example of a good process that led to Russell Wilson. So as long as you embody that, and there's no reason to think that they won't because of everywhere that they've been, all the other Packer, Ron Wolf disciples across the league, they've all gone to their other places and they've all embodied this and done this. I don't see the downside because if you're worried about the cap, there's no ramifications for the cap. And frankly, after this year, you're not really paying anybody other than Jalen Waddle and Zach Sealer. And now Malik Willis. And if you choose to pay Jordan Brooks and Aaron Brewer and Devon Achane, they can join the club. You're not paying anybody after this year. You're really not paying anybody as of this year anyway. Like if the Dolphins stay at pick 11, before the Malik Willis contract, the 11th overall pick was going to be number one on the team in cash spending for 26. He was going to get more cash this year than anybody else on the roster, barring a contract extension for somebody else.
Stay up to date all year on the Miami Dolphins by subscribing to Locked On Dolphins on your favorite podcast app. Coming up, Mike Evans has taken his talents to San Francisco. Potential Hall of Famer Mike Evans is finally leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the 49ers after 12 star-studded seasons. Locked On 49ers host Brian Peacock reacted to San Francisco's first big swing of free agency and what fans can expect from Evans in his first season in Santa Clara.
How much does he have left in the tank would be my question, and kind of a schematic fit, because Mike Evans isn't the quintessential I'm going to route you up guy. And that's usually kind of Kyle Shanahan's type. He's a very different player. 6'5", 230 pounds, Croc. How does he fit in with the 49ers? How much gas do you think is left in Mike Evans' tank?
I think there's some things that you get, right? You do get a vertical field stretcher, but not the way I think most people are thinking. A lot of times you're thinking of a guy that's just going to burn you down the sideline, winning with separation down the field. That's not Mike Evans. He's going to win in a different way vertically. He's going to win with size. And we talked about it a little bit on yesterday's episode. We're talking about a 6'5", 235 plus pound receiver who's physical at the catch point, is going to box defensive backs out. And, especially when he stretches his arms out, we talk about 6'5", those arms get to stretch and he's much longer and taller than that. So he brings an element that the 49ers truly haven't had. We had this huge discussion last week. I say huge discussion. There was a bigger discussion on social media than it was on the podcast, but True X, are they being phased out? Do the 49ers need one? Well, I think Mike Evans gives you True X vibes, right? Which is the ability to just win with his frame and his body without having to create massive separation and multiple levels of the field, but also have the flexibility to be able to play inside and be a big slot and run routes from there and understand spacing. So I'm excited to see what it looks like. We've seen the 49er at the tail end of his career still be successful with the San Francisco 49ers and Anquan Boldin posting back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here with Mike Evans on his 3-year contract, but he's definitely a guy that can truly be productive. The other area where I feel like he fits maybe a little too well is probably the injuries. So we need to get a healthier version of him, but I see a legit fit in different ways than what the 49ers have truly had in a receiver for them so far.
And finally, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is keeping historic company, and that would be putting it lightly. The Thunderstar scored at least 20 points for the 126th straight game Monday night against Denver, tying a record set by Wilt Chamberlain from 1961 through 1963. Shea reached the mark with a third quarter three and now has a chance to break it Thursday against the Celtics. Chamberlain famously scored 20 or more in every single game of 61 and 62, including his 100-point night. During SGA's streak, he's logged 5 50-point games and hasn't been held under 20 since October of 2024. His next stop, standing alone on top of the record books on Thursday night after a primetime matchup with the Celtics. We will be seated. Coming up, the NFL free agency floodgates have opened, but what other big signings are coming this week? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.